Good evening. Thank you, Mia. I'm very honored and thankful to be speaking here today. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'm Misha Keyvanfar, a 10th grade Jewish student at Palisades Charter High School. I'd like to first give a land acknowledgement that I'm a first-generation immigrant residing on land originally inhabited by the Gabrielino Tongva Native Americans. I'm the president of the Pali High Student Supporting Israel chapter, as well as the president of my Jewish Student Coalition. I'm also a first-generation immigrant. My parents escaped discrimination in Iran. In Iran, anti-Semitism and blatant bigotry against Jews were justified and even praised. And for this reason, I'm thankful that we live in America, where we have a justice system, a process set in place for recourse against violence and bigotry, laws to protect us, and we the people have a voice. I want to express my personal experiences with anti-Semitism. Jew hatred for thousands of years has constantly been shape-shifting and manifested in different forms. First, it was Judeophobia, when Jews were accused of killing Jesus and were considered enemies of God. Then it was racial anti-Semitism, where we were an inferior race that needed to be extinguished. And today, there's an additional new wave of Jew hatred that is expressed through anti-Zionism, denying the indigeneity of the Jews to their homeland Israel and our right to a sovereign state where we can live safely. Unfortunately, Jew hatred is pervasive all over the world, in the streets and also in our schools, our safe place. Although this was very prevalent before, now, after October 7th, anti-Semitism has skyrocketed. For me, I first experienced anti-Semitism when I was 11 years old, in 6th grade. A swastika was drawn in my public school's bathroom. Later, in March of 2020, when I was 12 years old, I first experienced Jew hatred from a schoolmate. Not only did he constantly insult me personally, but he insulted and belittled Jews as a whole. He would call me a yucky Jew. His voice was not alone. In fact, it was amplified and even multiplied throughout my LAUSD middle school and later high school years. In 8th grade, a member of the leadership program used the word kike in the leadership classroom. In our freshman year of high school, my best friend Hannah was told to go back to the gas chambers. The feeling of unsafety weighed in my stomach just last year when swastikas were painted on the sidewalks of my school campus, as well as this year on the walls of our school and many desks and classrooms. Later on my school's club day, a Jewish club gave out I Heart Israel pins. A disgruntled student took the pin and then took a video of himself aggressively stomping on and breaking this pin. This video had Arabic background music that translated to kill the Jews. Last school year, students did Nazi salutes and exclaimed F the Jews to a Jewish club at Pali. Then, in a math classroom, a member of Pali's staff told their classroom that Kanye was right, after Kanye explicitly agreed with and praised Hitler's doings. Just last week, a student threw a ball of paper that said Free Palestine on it at my friend while we were tabling the Student Supporting Israel table at Club Day. Although we reported this to the dean's office, there was no follow-up, and in fact, administrators later denied that 4 reports had been filed. Last week, my sister was asked, how many babies have you killed today? This Monday, my sister was attacked by a mob at UC Berkeley. The violent mob tore a door out of her hand that she was trying to keep closed so that they would not enter the building where the other Jewish students were eager to hear an Israeli speaker. They sprained her hand and she's in a brace. Her friend was strangled and left with red marks across her neck. The school had not cared enough to properly protect the Jewish students, failing to send enough security and failing to properly defuse the masked mob. So far, they've not taken action. It is very scary. This year, my school's campus unification director was anything but inclusive. He explicitly excluded Jews from the school's Justice League, a leadership space for the leaders of various affinity groups. He justified this by saying Jews don't have a historical background, Jews have not experienced hatred, and Jews are not a minority. Me, along with my co-president, disputed these obviously incorrect statements, explaining the history of the Jews and the never-ending Jew hatred. He then replied, "All white people have experienced hatred. That's not what this is about." When bringing this to my school's attention, they justified his anti-Semitic and discriminatory actions and remarks under the California Ethnic Studies curriculum. At first, my school did not want to acknowledge this problem or take any accountability. They said that his behavior was not motivated by anti-Semitism, but was merely following the California Ethnic Studies curriculum. After a lot of advocacy by us students, parents, community members, and elected officials, my school's administration finally let him go. All these behaviors are not right. They fuel isolation, disconnect, fear, and fuel further hatred. It is crucial that we take steps towards exposing and condemning this type of hateful behavior to bring awareness to the harm it causes to the Jewish students. I'm speaking to you as people with authority to influence and implement change. Every student and every campus deserves a designated, qualified, and educated faculty or administrator who's responsible for mitigating and monitoring hatred and discrimination on campuses. There are several ways to protect Jewish students. First, we urge schools, communities, and our legislators to adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, or IHRA, working definition of anti-Semitism. The IHRA definition defines the obvious forms of Jew hatred, like campuses being defaced with swastikas, as well as more modern and developing forms of anti-Semitism. The IHRA definition makes it clear that criticism of the state of Israel, like criticism of any other country, is not classified as anti-Semitic. However, it also ensures that denying the right of Jewish people to their indigenous homeland and the world's only Jewish country and calling for the eradication of Jews from the river to the sea, which affects the worldwide Jewish population, does cross the line into anti-Semitism. This would help protect us because it would clearly outline what anti-Semitism is and what is not, so that we can call it out when we see it. Second, it is important to have a proper curriculum that educates teachers and students about the histories of Jews in the USA and worldwide. There should be education on how Jews have been discriminated, even in the USA, have been kept out of law and medical schools, and prevented from buying land or renting homes in certain areas. We should learn that Jews are from many different ethnic backgrounds and colors. We should learn about the historical ties of Jews to Israel. Third, schools should not be allowed to use an ethnic studies curriculum that teaches misinformation about Jews and denies their historical background. Not only is denying Jewish indigeneity and history dangerous for Jewish students, but is a dishonor to all ethnic minorities. Further, students should be prohibited from covering their face to avoid recognition. Covering their faces is what is giving students a way to hide and prevent from being identified and prosecuted when they commit crimes. This is what is happening at UC Berkeley, for example. My sister's friend cannot identify the Caucasian student wearing a kufiya who strangled her. As leaders of the new generation, we should teach that hateful words and ideas about a people can lead into violence, or in our case, a full-blown genocide. I will not be a Jew with trembling knees. I will not stand idly by when any of my Jewish or non-Jewish peers are experiencing hatred. As Desmond Tutu once said, if you are neutral in a time of injustice, you've chosen the side of the oppressor. This is a time to spring into action. We all have power, and we all have something to contribute to make this world a better place. Thank you.